What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Kill Shot Breakdown Podcast. We're talking UFC 289, Nunes versus Aldana. We're going to take a look at all of the cards on the fight, on the ticket, from a DraftKings perspective, a little fantasy breakdown, and we're going to talk a little bit of bets on occasion as well. We'll get you on the bets. We'll get you on the DraftKings. With me, as always, to break it down, Big Marley, MonkMMAtics. What's up? Let's do this, fellas. Now, we were just talking about this card, and it is a little, you're right, it is a little bit of a weird one for a UFC pay-per-view because, like, man, you know, usually when we get a pay-per-view, you go down the card, and there are some exciting fights. Now, there are exciting fights, but there are no names after the co-main event. The names end, and it's like, who the hell are these people? Which is less common on a pay-per-view. Big Marley, you buying this one?
No, I'm not buying this one. Well, I guess I'm going to let DraftKings, my lineups, decide if I buy this one. If I got a shot, I'll buy it. But if I'm dead, there's no chance I'm going to waste $75 on it.
Yeah, I feel that, man. I will be purchasing, but that's just because I don't have shit. I don't have shit to do. Like normal people, they might like, I can go somewhere. I can hang out with my family. I can go out to dinner at Saturday night. I don't have any of those things. I'm just here anyway. Playing, I'm watching it, I'm betting on it. So with that being said, let's get into this card. I have a couple of significant underdog plays that I like, and I'm excited to see if you guys agree with some of those as well. So yeah, man, chalk it up and let's see if we could find some big dogs to play on this card. I'm getting my I'm getting my brain space ready for the championships in 2 weeks. And so, I was going to like half-ass this card a little bit. And then I'm like, no, you know what? Because just focus on 2 weeks from now. And I'm like, no, I need to, it's like working out at the gym. You got to keep the brain fresh by breaking down fights and watching tape. So let's get to the beginning of this card, boys. And we're going to start at the bottom, work our way up to the top. Got to stick around to the end for the main event. All right, first up, Diana Bellbita. She's better than Cheddar. Taking on Maria Oliveira in a pick'em fight that the line is flipped. I mean, Bellbita was an underdog and a favorite, and an underdog and a favorite, and you can't see it there, but she is back to being slightly favored. No kill shot here, Monk. Nice try. No kill shot. She's a favorite at this point, but she's taking on Maria Oliveira, who is famous for like losing to all the worst fighters. That's what I know Maria Oliveira for. She's known for it. So I'll just give a little stylistic breakdown of what I saw on the tape. Oliveira, super long limbs. Love that. Love the limbs. Long. She's got some power. Looked like she was going to knock out Vanessa Demopoulos in their fight in round 3. I was pretty impressed with her gas tank in that fight. But she loses all the time, and her grappling is next level horrifying. Taken on, that's fine with Bellbita. Bellbita also is a terrible grappler, probably better than Oliveira, but terrible from what I saw. Striker, love the volume from Bellbita, but she seems a little not that strong. But I do like the volume from her. She's got her head down and she just throws. I think she's averaging over 6 strikes per minute. And her Achilles heel has been her grappling. It's awful. So, Big Marley. Oliveira doesn't really grapple. I don't think you have to worry about that with Bellbita. Is she tough enough, though? Can she hang with... I guess Oliveira, her weakness is the grappling. And also, can Bellbita take her down? Because she's got a couple takedowns in her career.
Yeah, I do think that's the big question. I was eyeing Bellbita as a bet at plus money because I thought that the line was just off. I favor her slightly because on the feet, it's kind of a toss-up in my opinion. If you want to give Oliveira any edge, it's going to be in the striking department, but that's all she's got. And I think Bellbita is just as good on the feet, can throw just as much, if not more volume. And I think she's the one who's more likely to mix in takedowns. And if she can get a takedown, you can just make it a clear round against Maria Oliveira. And we did see Bellbita go for a takedown against like Julija, whatever, armbar or bust girl.
Liana Jojua, who then armbarred her ass in one of the
all
most.
You have to do in this fight is not take her down, and you're going to win, Bellbita. And what she do, she takes her down right away, and she gets submitted. But the thought of her taking her down right away, if you want to do that in this matchup, that is a great thing to do. Do that, and you should be a clear favorite. So I'm picking Bellbita to be smart, which has burned me many times in the past. But I'll take her to win 2 or 3 rounds.
Man, the fact
and on DraftKings, she's really the only one I'm interested in. She's cheaper, and she's the one who I think is going to get any takedowns. If Oliveira wins, she's like looking at 10x at best, in my opinion.
I'm going to not only look at Bellbita here, only because Oliveira has some power and Bellbita is just not very good. So like that power, Oliveira has finishes against zeros. When I say zeros, actual 0-win fighters, but nonetheless, she has finished someone. So I don't think you can ignore it. And the way the salaries work out, you just cannot ignore them. You need one of these fights. You're going to see.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to take a stand. I'm Bellbita or pass on this one.
I like that. So I am picking Bellbita to win as well. How do you see it going down, Monk?
I agree, especially with the newfound knowledge that Bellbita is now the favorite. You're getting somewhat of an extra DraftKings value on this $8K salary, which is technically a dog salary, and she's not a dog anymore, so that's pretty self-explanatory. Her ceiling is just a bit higher. Neither woman scores very well in the 80s, but Bellbita is closer to 90, while Oliveira is closer to 80. She put up 81 against Gloria De Paula. The only other thing, if I can find my tab, I will mention here, if this goes to the ground, it's going to be by complete accident. 80% of both fighters, actually, total DraftKings points have come at distance, which is an extremely high number. Usually you land 25-30% inside the distance on accident for the most part, but their percent of grappling time controlled. Oliveira controls less than 10% of the time she's involved in. Bellbita controls 7% of the time she's involved in, so she should have the advantage here, Bellbita. Like you guys said, both of these women are super high volume. One's over 6 strikes a minute, I think. The other one's almost 5.5. So I'm going to lean with Bellbita here. Her upside is just this much better. But I do not really like this fight a ton for DraftKings. I feel like I'm being forced to play Bellbita, which, I will do. But, I'm going to pick her for the win and for the slight DraftKings upside at the slightly cheaper price.
And again, I'm just going to say this as you guys both picked Bellbita. I don't see the difference between these two being that much. And volume is there. There's not much grappling up. There's no grappling upside with Oliveira, but I will have some of that as well. And listen, my MMA math, and I am an MMA mathematician, not a monk mathematician, said that Oliveira actually beat Gloria De Paula and Diana Bellbita lost to her. So it's important to know there is a common opponent and a very similar looking fight. One lost and the other one won it. There's nothing special about Bellbita at all. And she just does not look strong. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, she throws and it doesn't look like there's any power there from what I saw. But, I'm just a dude watching some fight film. So I don't know. All right. Next up, we've got David Dvorak taking on Steve Ursig, right? Dvorak, this is a line movement fight. At one point was minus 500 and is now down to minus 275. Minus 500. Absolutely absurd on this one, by the way. I'm going to explain why. But Ursig is, Ursig started plus 330. Now he's down to a plus 235, more reasonable. And this fight for me, boys. Oh, wait, actually, let me get the inside the distance prop here. I forgot about that. But fight ends inside the distance. I'm surprised here. Plus 115. Fight goes to distance, minus 145. I do not mind the inside the distance prop on this one as a bet. Plus 115 seems a bit surprising for me. So I don't mind that one at all. But from what I've seen, David Dvorak, pretty well-rounded fighter, has some power, decent wrestler, has takedowns a little bit, does it all, really. He's not focused on being a grappler, but he can do it, and he looks okay stopping a takedown from what I've seen. Ursig, is a pretty nasty grappler and a submission guy, Big Marley. And I don't like betting against guys like this when they're plus 350 or plus. I definitely am messing with no minus 500 or minus 400 against the guy in Ursig who's got some nasty rear naked chokes. Not sure how it's going to look on the UFC level, but on the regional scene in Australia, wherever the hell he operates, I thought it looked pretty good, Big Marl.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all that I thought looked good was his grappling. And you got to, in my opinion, you got to be able to wrestle for grappling to matter. And I just don't know that he has the wrestling edge. I don't give him the striking edge either. So I just think that Dvorak can use his wrestling to keep this fight standing. And if that's the case, I like him to win a clear striking-based decision. But if that's the case, it's also going to lead to a low score on DraftKings because we're not getting that wrestling points. And if you're not getting a knockout, you're not paying off $9,400. So this is one, I mean, I'm fine getting some Ursig exposure over Dvorak because all he needs is just for the fight to fall to the ground and maybe he can lock up a submission. I don't think he's that good, but I would rather pay his price than Dvorak's. So this is going to be a pass for me. I think Dvorak gets the win. Just doesn't score well, so that makes me not interested in either one of them. But if I'm making 150 lineups, I probably end up with more leverage to Ursig in hopes that he can just grab a hold of Dvorak, drag the fight to the ground, get the back, lock up a rear naked choke, something like that. I just don't believe in his wrestling for him to dictate where the fight takes place. So give me Dvorak to win 30-27.
Monk, how do you see this one going down?
Well, you could have fooled me. I thought Ursig was like the lead singer for Papa Roach or something by that picture. But yeah, I'm on the same page as Marley. Actually, I'm going to have a decent amount of Ursig at 6,800 this week. David Dvorak has simply priced himself right out of being able to be rostered. And I know he didn't set the price. That's, you know what I mean. 9,400, way too expensive for what you're getting for Dvorak. He only has one decent win in which he scored anything good, and it was against Juan Camilo Ronderos, the guy that was probably high on cocaine for that fight and has like 6 fights total compared to David Dvorak's like 25 fights total. So one of the worst in the weight class, and he missed weight, Ronderos, in that fight. So it was at catch weight. We can throw that out. Dvorak's 2 wins have come to Jordan Espinoza and Bruno Silva, who I do think is decent. His 2 losses against Kopp and Nicolau, who I think are very good fighters. However, his win over, Espinoza, 57 points. His win over Bruno Silva, 73. So he's averaging 64 points per win in 3-round flyweight fights, and you're telling me he's $9,400. Yeah, I'm siding with the new guy here, 6,800. He's got to score, a win and 75 points to make the optimal lineup. Plus, if it goes to decision and he loses and somehow scores 40 or 50, he still could probably make the optimal lineup. So I'll have a bunch of Ursig where I wasn't planning on having before. And David Dvorak, I might just X him out, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I don't blame you if you want to X him out. That absolutely is, at his price. I mean, he's competing with Nunes. And listen, if Nunes is here to win, she's going to win. Nunes is... she's going to win and she scores 150 when she wins. It's not close. This guy has done nothing. You're right. He beat a scrub. He's putting up a 70. I got to tell you something. I think that there's a bias against the Steve Ursig character because he looks like somebody who makes sandwiches at the Subway sandwich store. I think that's a bias we need to remove from our minds. I watched the kid fight. He is a good grappler. He is if the back is available, he's on it. He finds a way. He's like a little rat. He finds his way on your back. He crawls up there. He's on your leg he crawls up. Now he's on your back. And now he's got you. So I like these kind of grapplers. Listen, he could be JP Buys. Don't get me wrong. That is exactly the guy who looked like this before he got to the UFC and then was like garbage. But I will say this about Ursig. I did not see him gassing out. Marley, did you see this kid gas out in any tape? I didn't see him get tired. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed it.
No, I didn't find a whole lot of tape. I think I only watched 3 fights, and 2 of them were early finishes. So no.
Yeah, he got the early finish. I was looking for. I think there's a third one. There is either a decision or this fight. It was a while ago. And
I saw a decision and 2 early finishes.
Aussie accents all going on the. So he didn't get gassed. That's what I was looking for. I'm like, can he do this grappling thing? There's another, the Malott fight and his opponent too. You're like, dude, that guy going to keep that shit up. We'll see. You know, he's another one that you're worried about the gassing. But here, I like Ursig. I think he's a very good DraftKings play because if he wins, I don't think it's going to be in a stand-up, low-scoring striking battle. I think he wins by submission if he could figure out how to lock up some grappling. We'll find out when these two get in the ring together. You don't know. You never know with grappling, like who's good and who's not. So we'll see. All right. Next up, Blake Bilder taking on Kyle Nelson. Bilder, let me go down here. Bilder is a minus 240 favorite with a comeback on Nelson, sitting at plus 205. The fight. Here we go. Fight ends inside the distance, an acceptable minus 170. Big Marley, you know, Kyle Nelson, been around for a bit. Blake Bilder, a lot of hype around this kid. How do you see this one coming together? Because I think everybody's picking Bilder, but the line's pretty close.
Yeah, I'm picking Bilder too, just because there's not a lot to like on the Nelson side. He's just okay everywhere. He can land a couple takedowns and not do much with them. His best chance is to land an early knockout, and I'm not big on early knockout or bust type fighters. Bilder has that same upside. I think he is the better grappler for sure. So if Nelson wants to take it to the ground, I feel like that will be okay for Bilder. And if Bilder gets takedowns himself, that's even better. And he also has knockout upside too. So I would just rather go with the guy who could fight at a higher pace for a full 15 minutes. And I'm on the Bilder side. So for me, it's Bilder or pass. Maybe I'm okay with a little bit of Nelson exposure in hopes of that early knockout, but it would be more so of a hedge if I get more Bilder than I'm planning on. But I see Bilder winning and scoring under 10x. So this is a fight I probably want to get away from in the majority of my lineups.
Monk, here are the stats on screen. You know, Bilder, I got to give him credit for some reasonable volume, almost 7 strikes per minute. Hasn't done a lot with grappling so far in the UFC, but especially he's attempted lots of takedowns, but he just hasn't successfully completed them. Do you think he's going to, I mean, Nelson's pretty bad at takedown defense. Like, does he improve that? And do we start to see the takedowns part of his game? Can this be a DraftKings secret sort of sneaky play that no one's thinking about because he hasn't done it yet?
I think so, honestly, but there's a few reasons. It's recency bias for the most part. That's the first thing I saw. Blake Bilder beat Shane Young, and now he's 9K against a guy, I don't care if it's Kyle Nelson or not, a guy that has at least 5 UFC fights total. Like, that's overpriced to me. He only scored 85 points. Like you said, this
fairness,
machine, 1 out of 7, I think.
Most of those Nelson fights have been losses, though.
Yeah, 3 of them. But the one he did win, he did show huge DraftKings. Well, not huge.
That's Polo Reyes, dude. Everybody knocks that guy out. Like, he has shown
fighter in the division.
Let's be fair. He's fought like decent guys. So let's be fair to this record for a second, Monk. Diego Ferreira, sure, you're losing to Diego. Sure. Come on, right? Billy Q, yeah, you're losing to him. Matt Sales,
yeah.
Jai Herbert. Fight. You know, these two are tough, and beating Polo Reyes should not even be allowed to be considered a UFC win. So I don't know.
And he only scored 90. I mean, he got 90 bonus points for that Reyes win, and he only scored 96. So not really much going on there. Like I said, man, Bilder just a little too expensive for me. He's going to have to show me that he can probably handle Kyle Nelson before I roster him more than like 20%. But people were all over him last week. They're going to be all over him this week. And I think his ownership is going to be too high. I agree with whoever said it's probably going to be a low scoring win. That said, I will have some of Nelson at 7,200. I don't think he's going to win at all, but kind of relative newcomer to the UFC, I will give him a puncher's chance. So yeah, give me a little bit of Nelson, and I'll be fading. I'll be under whatever the field is on Bilder this week. And shout out to Iron Cheek, humbling us all.
Yeah, rip Iron Cheek
in the afterlife.
You know, the best era. Let me just side note this. I got into UFC because of my love for WWF. not E. It was F in my day. Fuck the World Wildlife Foundation. World Wrestling, right? It was F in my day. And Iron Sheik was part of the best era. For me, it was the best era of WWF. I'm talking Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Macho Man Randy Savage, Elizabeth, the British Bulldog. Like, that was the era.
Who was the guy with the bullhorn? I always liked him. He was the manager.
One of the managers, I'm trying to remember, but I was just like Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh, yeah.
Coming out like that. Big Marley, you might be too young to remember the late 80s WWF era, the mid and late 80s era.
Yeah, I was into WWF for like 2 years, and it was like the Stone Cold and the Rock days.
Oh, yeah, that was modern. That was like the Will Ferrell years, like for Saturday Night Live. Still good, but modern, and then now it's just, I don't even know who's in it anymore. But that was like a modern Razor Ramon. Hell yeah. Love all these guys. The Ultimate Warrior. That was the best time for UFC. I loved it. And Iron Sheik was a little before that. Iron Sheik was more like, this. I'm trying to remember.
Bob Backlund.
Man, it was a good era for WWE. It was. I forget the names already. All right. Anyway, so we got that out of the way. Shout out to Iron Sheik. Rest in peace, my man. He was 81, by the way. He was old.
That's a hell of a life for a wrestler. 81.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
He lived it up.
Yeah. All right. Next up. But by the way, and he was still living it up right to the end. Like, this dude was posting on Twitter like 2 weeks ago. Like, he was still there, like doing
the Hulk Hogan
in full character. He stayed in character until the end. You gotta love it. All right, this one. You want to talk about some DraftKings poison? Ayman Zahabi taking on Aoriqileng. I think he's just pronounces it Keelang. I don't know. Anyway,
somehow it's Aoriqileng.
Yeah, Aoriqileng. Aoriqileng. I don't know how to say it. By the way, everybody says it different. I don't know. So anyway, Zahabi -113, Canada's finest, the pride of Quebec, right there, hangs with my boy George St. Pierre. Like, they just go out to dinner together, family, friends, all that stuff. He's taking on the Mongolian Nightmare, Keelang Ari, or whatever his name is. Fight. This is important. Fight goes the distance -165. Inside the distance +135. And Big Marley, I'm not a big fan of the scoring that Zahabi fights tends to produce. I don't know if that's what you saw. I'm a little worried about this fight for DraftKings. Like, I think you have to choose between this one and Bellbita Oliveira when you're making, like, you're forced to choose, and it's ugly. It's a bad choice. I don't like it.
Yeah. It's another fight I don't really care for too much for DraftKings, but it's another one where I want to take a stand. I just really don't like Zahabi that much. There's really nothing that impressive about him. I don't see him going out there wrestling a lot and scoring well in a decision. So we're relying on an early finish for him to have any chance at 100+.
Almost no wrestling in his game.
Yes. I just like to target guys who will fight more in that 15 minutes rather than if you compile all their action together and it's 3 minutes of the entire 15. That's kind of what I see in Zahabi. But I like the aggressiveness from Aoriqileng. I like his power as well. I think he's live for a knockout here. I think he is the one live to get a couple takedowns throughout the fight. So I'm going to take a stand. I think he's the one that should be the slight favorite in this one. And I'll say it's Aoriqileng or pass for me. But, I mean, I liked Ricky Tercios going into that Zahabi fight, and he couldn't even touch him. So maybe the aggressiveness won't matter as much, and we're relying on the finish on either side here. But I'm going to take a stand, and I like the favorite in this one. Well, the DraftKings favorite.
Here's what's crazy. Look at these stats, Big Marley. Aoriqileng, whatever. He's landing 6 strikes per minute, which is high, but he's absorbing 7 strikes. Like, this guy is super hittable. Right.
That was a lot of Jeff Molina, though.
I mean, but how much of that? He's got 4 fights. Like, this is a real stat. Wait, let's take a look.
The
Hold on.
majority. Molina had a lot, like
is that just what
189. Yeah.
Oh,
189.
189. So every other fight, you know what? You're right here. So these other fights, in fairness, these other fights did not have crazy striking numbers. It was just Molina. And wow, how the heck did Molina land 189 strikes after getting taken down thrice? That's crazy. All right, so we'll throw that out a little bit. Monk, is this fight, does the numbers add up for you to a DraftKings play?
Maybe on Aoriqileng. Like, I'll be siding with the Mongolian murderer here. Eamon Zahabi, there's like the winner of Zahabi fight scores 70 points. I mean, it's pretty documented historically. It's 70 points. He did score very well against Draco Rodriguez, you know, that guy who's no longer in the UFC, probably one of the worst fighters in the weight class. And that one was at catchweight because Draco missed weight. That's the only time Zahabi scored any kind of points. He had a first round KO. Other than that, he beat Ricky Tercios, 51 points. He beat someone named Reginaldo Vieta, 58 points.
Score against Tercios is unforgivable.
It is ridiculous. That was a 3-round fight.
Yeah,
3 rounds. There was 0% control time in that entire fight. How is that even possible? Not even a half of a clinch. So yeah, Marley's probably right. Zahabi is not going to doesn't let people talk. I mean, his brother is a striking coach, right? And he's a damn good one. So he's got great defense, but he just doesn't have any kind of striking volume, and that's the only game that he has. He doesn't wrestle at all. So the upside lies with Aoriqileng. The question is, will he be able to get to Zahabi? That's my only question. Historically, the stats say no, so I probably want to fade this fight, but I'll probably make myself play more Aoriqileng than I probably should, just for the DraftKings upside here. And like you said, if I have to pick between those 4 from 79 to 8,300, I'm picking mostly Aoriqileng, then probably Bellbita, then probably Oliveira, and Zahabi would be last.
There's a few others that are in the zone that you can mess with, but you don't like them either. Like, we're coming up on Anders Barriault, and who the heck? I don't know. Anders fight, that's as poison as a Zahabi fight. So it's like, what are you doing up here? You got to pick, and you cannot make a lineup. You got to choose from these, and it's an ugly choice. So I'm picking Aoriqileng or whatever we're calling him anyway. I like that side better as well for the same reasons. I think it's a that or just nothing on DraftKings. Zahabi is just no volume, and I don't love Aoriqileng either, but I'll take him over Zahabi just for the volume. All right, next up, Jasudavicius taking on Miranda Maverick. Maverick is in my opinion, ridiculous -310 favorite. And interestingly, money has flowed in on Miranda, not against, but rather for. And I don't know who didn't get the memo that, taking women fighters like that one as a heavy favorite is not a long-term profitable way to bet on UFC fights. Not saying what's going to happen here. I'm just saying that seems a little weird. Fight goes the distance, an incredible -300. And so we can expect potentially 3 rounds of fighting here. And I do think that will be what happens. Big Marley, both of these girls are grapplers, and both of them want to get. What I like about Jasmine is she makes no bones about what she's in there to do. She'll throw a few strikes. She wants to get a takedown. Is she the greatest at getting the takedown? I didn't think she was bad at all. She might not have like the crazy double leg, Kevin Lee style to her, but she definitely has skills as a wrestler. I believe she's on the Canadian Olympic wrestling team or has some sort of significant wrestling credential. Miranda Maverick, on the flip side, Big Marley, also wants to go for takedowns and pretty much focuses that as her game. So I guess my question is, which one of these 2 ladies, Big Marley, is the better wrestler, and how much better?
I'm going to say Maverick. Jasudavicius, she's the female GSP, she likes to call herself. But she has to get the fight to the ground. She only looks like a female GSP when she's in top control. She doesn't look like the greatest of wrestlers. She looks like a decent wrestler, but not GSP level wrestling. And then on the feet, she just doesn't have any striking. So Maverick can have that same wrestling success. I think she's probably better at getting up off her back as well. But if the wrestling cancels out, I think it's Maverick all day on the feet. So that's kind of where I think the line's going into the Maverick side. I do like Maverick in this one. I like her a lot more than Dvorak for cheaper. So I probably end up with leverage on her. But if Jasudavicius wins, not only is she going to score more than 10x, but she has 100-point upside, which will break the slate. So I definitely want some of that as well. This will be a fight I want in half or more of my lineups, but I'm more interested in the Maverick side with my single entry. I think she's in my shell right now. So she's my preferred play in all formats.
Dangerous for your single entry, bro. Dangerous. Monk, I'm sure these two have really good metrics for inside the distance scoring.
Let's see. Inside the distance offensively, yeah, it's not too bad. They both outscore their opponents significantly. Miranda Maverick 3.5 to 2.75. Jasudavicius 3.67, allowing just 1.08 points per minute inside the distance. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I'm going to go a step further than Marley. I think this is close to a 100% must-play fight, to be completely honest. 9,300 for Maverick. She's the one that's made the optimal 2 out of 5 times. She's the one that has 109 DraftKings points per win in 3-round women's flyweight fights. And oh yeah, that's my favorite women's weight class, as they are making the optimal lineup at a 53.5% rate, 54 if you're rounding up. So I love Maverick here. The size could be an issue. I'm a bit worried about that. She's listed at 5'3", Double J at 5'7", so she's going to have the reach as well. But as Marley said, Miranda should have the striking upside here. And I'm also going to, you like Maverick so much, why 100%? Well, just again, like Marley said, if Jasudavicius wins, she's going to score well. She's going to make the optimal lineup. When $6,900 wins that salary, 83%, 5 out of 6 times that salary makes the optimal lineup in a win. So I will definitely be playing that. Like I said, close to 100%. I'll probably be like 70-30, 75-25 Maverick to Jasudavicius. Because, yeah, Jasmine looked awful against Natalia Silva, who has gone on to win at least one more fight, looking very good in the process. I think she took someone's leg home with her this past weekend. So I don't really mind that loss. But the only thing I'll say, last thing I'll say, Double J has only beat Gabriela Fernandez as a UFC debut, and then Kay Hansen, who I think that was probably her last fight before she switched careers up. So Jasudavicius is going to have to prove it. I favor Maverick here, but I love the winner to make the optimal lineup.
The loss that bothers me a lot more than Natalia Silva, who looks like a stud right now, is the Elise Reed loss, because she should have beaten Elise Reed. But let's go back and just take a quick look at what. Fuckers. Of course, they don't have the stats for that fight. So, unfortunately, we can't see that one. But I wanted to see the stats from that fight just to kind of see what went down in terms of how legit that loss was. It was a split decision loss, and sometimes she might have won that fight. Split decision, who knows? I'm going to tell you something. Miranda Maverick, to me, a little bit overrated. Losing to Macy Barber is not a good look either. So for me, there's a little bit of overratedness. But the biggest thing for me is at plus 260, she's the bigger fighter, and her grappling, I think, might be better. I'm not sure for Jasmine. I am picking Jasmine to win this fight. I would say that this should be a pick'em fight, or at worst, minus 150. I get that she lost. I get that Jasmine lost to Elise Reed, but Miranda Maverick has not blown anybody out of the water either with her. She has not blown me away. She beaten Shayna Young by decision. Come on, right? Who's not doing that? Even Kay Hansen's beaten Shayna Young at this point. So I like what Jasmine brings to the table. I like the grappling. I don't know which one of their grappling will win out, but I will tell you they are going to clinch up and they're going to go for a takedown, and one of them will gain top position on the other. So how much do I want to gamble that it's Miranda who winds up on the top? Not that much, because again, Jasmine's credentials for wrestling are better than Miranda Maverick's. I don't care what you say. So they are better credentialed. She is a more credentialed wrestler.
Or Canadian credentials.
Yeah, well, listen, you can only wrestle in the country that you come from. And yes, is the Canadian wrestling scene the greatest in the world? No. But I mean, it's not like Miranda was fighting on the US Olympic team either here. She just probably learned wrestling when she took on grappling back, whenever the hell she figured out that she wanted to do this for her career. So I'm just saying, Jasmine, you cannot overlook her on this card. She is a sub 7K fighter. And if she wins, she is in the nuts and she'll be in the winning lineup. It's that simple. And I see it more as a 50-50 fight. I am going to bet on Jasmine to win here. Do I expect her to win? Do I think she has a greater than 50% chance to win? Probably not. But I think she's got a greater than plus 260 chance of winning the fight. And again, it's really going to come to, you'll know, as a matter of fact, you'll know right early on, because if she's able to here's what's going to happen, Big Marl. You do a lot of betting. You do a lot of live betting. I do a lot of live betting. Monk, you do a little bit of live betting too. Except now that you're in Texas, they don't allow that shit. But if she gets the first takedown, the line is going to flip. She's going to go from plus 300 to minus 150 on one takedown. It's going to flip on one takedown. You'll be midway through the first. It's going to be Jasmine minus 140 if she successfully gets that first takedown.
If she can hold her down, yeah.
Yeah, if she takes her down and holds her down, and I don't see why not. And by the way, somebody's going down because both of these girls are going to grapple. They both want to hook up. They both want to get the takedown. So they will be in that position of gripping each other. That's hot. And then one of them's going down. Which one?
Tune in to find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. But, you're giving me plus money. I'm taking the plus money on it. And on DraftKings, I am locked into a win. Yeah, by the way, Barber Joe's on it. Barber got blessed
stats
with
agree.
Almost every
all
every
these Barber
fight,
wins.
You know what I mean? Every fight was a blessed win that she didn't deserve. Razzle's like, he wants to. They're gonna be holding each other. Somebody's gonna wind up on top of the other one. That's a typical Razzle grinds date. Somebody winds up on top of the other one. It's happening. All right, but in a fully consensual way. All right. I'm picking Jasmine. Going underdog. Under 7K. The rare win.
Big underdog.
Monk, what are my chances if I get a sub 7K win of being in the optimal?
5 out of 6 are right there at her price.
Yep, at her price. Plus, she's not going to be rostered at all. It's a women's fight. She's a huge dog, and she looked awful in her loss. Yeah. You're gonna have a huge edge. That's what I'm saying. It's a must play. You gotta, 70-30, 65 something. 50,
go over the market. I'm
says.
I'm less on the must component for Miranda just because
Sure.
A, I think it could be back and forth grappling, but B, again, Nunes is there. There are other girls and guys priced in the zone that could easily outscore Miranda Maverick. There's not too much going on sub 7K, although I think Steve Ursig has just as much upside.
I'm on your side here with Double J, man. The only issue is if things don't go her way, is it going to look like the Silva fight where it almost looked like she kind of gave up? She's tough as hell, which is why it went all 15, but it almost looked like she kind of accepted her fate. You know what I mean? So I don't want to see that if Miranda does start getting her way. I want to see Jasmine really stay in the fight.
Remember a very key thing. Everybody remembers this fight. Natalia Silva is no joke.
Yep.
Now this loss looks much. This is who she's losing to, right? Silva looks like a beast.
If you're going to catch an L, that's a good L to catch.
Yeah, that's not a bad L, is what I'm saying. And Miranda, she hasn't lost to anybody bad either. But I don't know. I like Miranda too. I don't want to come off like I don't like Miranda. I just think like she's pretty close. Like her and Jasmine are not that different, and I'm not. It doesn't make sense to pay that price.
Your initial statement of minus 300 for a women's, yeah, you can't.
It doesn't make sense to me. So I've got another underdog that I like, and it's coming up in this next fight.
Nice.
The dogs are barking on this card. They're out here barking. Oh, my bets.
Your name from
Geek,
the Baja Men.
Yeah, shouldn't listen to me. My bets were terrible last week. It was a nightmare. All right, Nasruddin Imavov taking on Chris Curtis. Imavov minus 152, slight favorite. Chris Curtis plus 132, slight underdog. Fight goes the distance minus 140, high likelihood, or slightly favored to go the distance. Big Marl, Curtis as an underdog here? Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking for line movement or something. What's this? He got headbutted in the last fight. No one likes him anymore. What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a close fight, but I think it mostly takes place on the feet. And I just think that Imavov is just going to be quicker to the punch. I think he'll be the one landing just a little bit more volume, but I really think that he's more likely to take it to the ground if anybody does, and that's what I favor him for. But if it's a 15-minute striking match, I just don't think either one of them are going to score well. And I guess you probably want to take your shot on the underdog if that's the case. So this is another fight where I really just don't care for either side. I'm okay with this as a last spot in my lineup for either one of them. But I'm going to pick Imavov. I do think he has the higher ceiling in a decision win. I mean, if we're playing for the knockout either way, then just take your chances on the underdog, I guess. But I like to think if this goes 15 minutes, who's got the chance at 100 points? I say neither, but Imavov has a better shot at it, in my opinion, because he's more likely to wrestle. So I'm picking him. I think the line's about right, though. I'd favor him about 60% of the time.
Dude, I mean, Chris Curtis got that rock solid takedown deep. You really think Imavov is taking down Chris Curtis?
No, I don't. I just think that he's more likely to take down Curtis than Curtis is to take him down. But I think we get a 15-minute striking match and the winner scores 60 points or less.
Listen, this is another thing. Like, I'm not going to hold losing to Strickland against anybody. Strickland's good, man. Strickland's really good.
Short notice too, wasn't it?
Yeah, but Strickland's good. Strickland's one of the better fighters. You can't hold a loss to Strickland against a guy like Imavov, right? Chris Curtis, that fight against Kelvin Gastelum, we saw the best Kelvin Gastelum we've seen in years. And he still, I thought Curtis was hanging in there pretty nicely. So I don't know. What do you think here, Monk?
Well, on my notes, I have just the word fade written next to this one. Imavov is a terrible DraftKings score. One of the worst. I mean, if it wasn't for Zahabi and Dvorak, he would literally be the worst fighter on the card for DraftKings upside.
I'm just going to mention this again because you're saying the fade. This is that decision point. You will be forced. Bellbita, Imavov, Curtis, or Zahabi. Like you are effectively forced to choose one of a fighter from these three fights. Like you're forced. They don't give us a reprieve. You got to choose one. But yes, it's faded.
I'm choosing Curtis then, to be honest. I don't see either guy attempting takedowns. Chris Curtis, all he is basically is a counter striker. 86, the most on the card, 86.5% of his total DraftKings points have come at distance, less than 10% inside. He controls 8% of the total grappling time he's involved in. Imavov, I just don't think. That said, I should say Curtis has a 100% takedown defense, has 0 takedowns landed out of 35 attempts. So that is not, 0 for 1, 0 for 2. One of these 100% takedown guys have had 2 takedowns attempted against him. It's 35. Most of those were from Vieta and extremely tired Rodolfo Vieta, but still 35 is no joke. Strength of schedule is fantastic. This is going to be a striking fight. Just like Marley said, I think it's going to be a 15-minute striking fight. I think the winner scores 75 to 85 points, and we don't really have to roster it. That said, I will have Chris Curtis over Imavov if I do find myself in a predicament where I have to choose one. I just think Imavov has like next to no upside. I don't see him finishing Curtis. But what I am looking forward to the most is Sunday morning after Curtis loses a decision, seeing the constant like 50 complaint tweets in a row. That is everybody's favorite part about Sunday mornings. It's nothing against Chris Curtis personally. He brings this shit on himself, man. But seeing him complain about every single fight he's in is always a bit refreshing to me personally. So, yeah, fade fight, pick Curtis if you have to.
The only thing I'm going to add to that, I agree, and I like the Curtis side of this fight. If I had to bet, I'm betting on Curtis over Imavov. I think Imavov is a little bit fraudulent, and I don't think Curtis is that. I think Curtis is like who he is, and we know who that guy is, and we bet him against Vieira and all of this. So I have love for Chris Curtis after coming through on that one. But I just want to point out the inside the distance prop is worse for Imavov. So to agree with what you were just saying, like Imavov needs a finish in order to pay off anything. And that plus 525 does not give him a high likelihood of that happening. I guess you're doubling it down, plus 525 inside the distance. Anyway, my point is it's super unlikely for Imavov to win by finish, plus 525. You get me three rounds. I'll also take the cheaper guy because why not? But I'm actually picking Curtis to win this fight and come through as an underdog. That's my boy Chris Curtis. All right.
If I had to bet it, I think I would just take a shot on fight goes to decision.
Yeah, that or that's great too. Like fight goes to decision, just play it that way, which I think is perfectly fine. Fight goes to decision, you're getting a little minus money, but it's not like fight goes to decision.
Yeah. But like I'm picking Imavov to win, and his line is higher, and I'm more confident that the fight goes to decision than I am him winning. So I feel like minus 160 or something for fight goes to decision, or even higher. I mean, I feel like this goes to decision fucking like close to 65, 70% of the time. I feel like
these are tough guys. The only negative to fight goes decision on this fight. Can we just do a fight goes decision parlay with this one in the Anders Barriault fight? Maybe we'll just put those together because this is another gross one. And by the way, part of the gross choices, we can't fade them all, Monk. Can't fade all of them. You don't get to fade every single fight, but we got another stinker on our hands in terms of the DraftKings prospects for fantasy, and that's Eric Anders taking on Marc-Andre Barriault, the pride of Quebec. So this card is taking place in the West Coast, I think, of Canada. Where is this physically taking place?
Vancouver?
You might as well ask me what's happening in the geography of Canada might as well be like.
Is it Vancouver?
Yeah.
Is it Vancouver? So
Yeah.
what's with all these Quebec people? We need to get some Vancouverites. West Coaster. Canada's like 4 different countries. The people in Quebec, they're like, oh, you are from Ontario? Fuck you. They don't like each other. Like they're not on the same page. They all feel like they're their own little country.
With their beady eyes and flapping heads.
Was this an episode of South Park?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but they are like that. It's totally different. Quebec. But this one in Vancouver, they'll be booing the Quebecers in the Rogers Arena. So anyway, here we got Eric Anders taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. Another kind of pick 'em fight here, minus 125 for Barriault. Oh man, Anders, Big Marley's been around for quite a while now. It's a boring style. Let's see, fight goes the distance, minus 130, so 50-50. Again, 2 big dudes going at it here. I don't think we'll see a lot of grappling, but maybe we will. Both guys can get a takedown. How do you see it going down, Big Marley?
Yeah, I'm somewhat interested in this one, but yeah, it's another fight where I'm not making it a point to get into my lineups. But this is the last one on the card. The next 4, we start getting into the DraftKings fun. But on this one, I think that Anders is in play for a decent score. If he's able to land a takedown or 2 in each round, I just don't think he's going to be able to control Barriault on the ground long enough for it to, really be sticking in the judges' minds. So other than that, he's only in play for the knockout. He's got big power. I think he's probably got more one-shot power than Barriault. But I think most of this fight's going to take place at distance, and I like Barriault's volume a lot more than I like Anders' volume, especially like in some fights. It's not as consistent as you would like it to be, but sometimes I'm blown away by his volume, and I've never been blown away by Anders' volume. So I am siding with Barriault to keep this fight on the feet for 10 minutes or more of the fight and get his hand raised by decision and not score great. But I do think they both have upside. They both have knockout upside. Barriault scored great in his last fight. It was a second round knockout, but he landed a shit ton of strikes leading up to it. So
we knew
okay
that one. He was
okay
taking
with
on.
this fight.
Yeah, that was a fight where we expected a finish, right? Like,
yeah, true.
his
Yeah, we
opponent.
definitely liked that one. But in this one, like if we got to take shots on the Bellbita fight, and we got to take shots on the Aoriqileng fight, and we got to take shots on this one, this is the one where I would rather just flip a coin. I'll take either one of them type thing, where I'll take a stand on Aoriqileng. I'll take a stand on Bellbita. This one, I don't care. Just give me whatever the DS wants to give me.
Let Jesus take the wheel. Monk, I've got the stats up for these two guys, and I'm not sure if everybody can see it. Let me know, you guys who are watching, if you could see the screen here. But Barriault landing some decent volume, and on occasion he gets there. 5.9 strikes per minute on average versus 3.39 for Anders, and that Anders number is established over a very large sample size. Like, he does not throw a ton of volume, but he does get some takedowns, and Barriault can't really defend a takedown particularly well. So I think Anders gets some takedowns here. Is that enough to pay up for Anders? Like, how do you see this one from a scoring perspective? We're going to be forced to choose some of these guys.
Yeah, I think this one is actually better than the way you guys have described it, just to me personally. I really like this fight. I'm going to have a ton of this fight, to be completely honest. 84 and 7,800, I believe the salaries are. This is the one that over those other two, like, I'll have this one rostered way more. Especially from the Anders side, his numbers aren't terrible. Like 93, he's what, 5-4 in 3-round middleweight fights. Yeah, and he's averaging 93 points a win. That's not terrible. But his ceiling is good. He's got 116-point ceiling. He's also got the best floor on the entire card. Scores very well in his losses. 82% takedown defense, controls almost 80% of all grappling time he's involved in. I absolutely love this fight for the upside of Eric Anders. Also, the $7,800 salary when it wins, 70% optimal. That is crazy for a salary that high. 70% optimal, 7,700, one of the best salaries you can play overall. And I love the matchup here because Barriault gives up a ton of points when he loses, well over 100 points per loss. I believe it's 100 and almost 2. He has actually the second highest ceiling on the card at 132, averaging 110 per win. That said, I know his last win was his biggest one, but both of these guys are coming off like 119-point wins. So they definitely have that in their back pocket. It's in their history anyways. Barriault does have worse takedown defense at 63%, controls only 32% of the total grappling time. I love the underdog here. I'm going to have Anders. I mean, however much I play this fight, I mean, like I said, this is close to 100% for me. I like 30-70 Barriault to Anders. I favor Anders big time here. But in case I'm wrong, I like Barriault to get a decent score as well. I think somebody could finish here. And if the public, I hope the public feels more like you guys, because I'll get a ton of leverage here. And hopefully it'll work out in my favor if one of these guys scores well.
Honestly, on another card, this is a fight I'm not ending up with much exposure to. But if I'm fading Maria Oliveira and I'm fading Zahabi, I might end up with more than I want to of this fight on this card.
That's what I was going to say. I totally agree. I think it doesn't appeal to me. And it's not the Barriault side. It's the Eric Anders does not allow lots of points to his opponents. That's been my biggest concern with this fight. He's got a style. He's very, he's got power. You can't really just let loose on the guy, and he just doesn't throw a lot. So it winds up with these low scoring fights. But you're forced to choose one of the fights, and this one is probably more appealing than some of the other ones. And Monk, I agree with you. I will be on the Anders side of this one. I'm picking him to win. He has takedown upside, and that's enough for me. The rest of them kind of seem really similar. Neither guy has beaten anybody of note. Their wins and losses are very similar levels. They fought similar guys. They both lost to the same type. Like, they both lose to Krzysztof Jotko types. That's where they're at. This is a good fight between two guys who are kind of similar. Give me the underdog in that spot just for the cheapness and also for the takedown upside. I don't think it's a lot, but I do think you can get a takedown or two along the way. All right. Now we get to the part of the card that's a little more exciting, a little sexier, and a little fights that seem like a lot more fun. And it starts with this one, Dan Ige taking on Nate Landwehr, with Ige coming in as a minus 250 favorite. The comeback on Landwehr plus 210. Here we go. Fight ends inside the distance. Again, this is a surprise for me. I did not look at this pre-breakdown. I'm a little surprised. Minus 130. I would have thought there's a much higher likelihood of this fight ending inside the distance. Big Marley, I'm surprised. What Landwehr seems like the finish or be finished guy. These odds don't reflect that. So what's going on?
And I kind of think we get a decision in this one. I just think they're both well-rounded fighters. They're tough. I mean, Ige's hard to finish, and Nate Landwehr has only been knocked out twice, and they're both flying knee knockouts, which isn't very common. So, I mean, that's shots you don't see coming that get you, right? So I feel like he's tough as shit. And he was knocked out in the Onama fight. Like he got knocked back like 10 feet, flew on his back, and the ground woke him up. And then he come back and dominated after that. So I don't know, man. He's just super tough. I think he's strong enough to survive. Both of them have, knockout power, I guess. They got submission ability. But I don't know. I like both sides of this fight. I think that they can look to wrestle and score well if they can have 2 or 3 rounds of success wrestling. I think they're both in play for a possible knockout. I don't know. I'm just looking forward to this fight, and I think it's going to play out closer than the line indicates. So it's another one where I'm fine with the Landwehr for that reason. When he wins, he usually scores well. And then on the Ige side, I think he has a lot of wrestling upside if he really wants to take it there. He's been coming off a couple knockout wins too, so it's in play. And on a card where I'm fading a lot of these fights, it's just one where I'm fine throwing this one into the pool. I don't really have a strong take on who I want in my single entry lineup, but I just think that this will end up in my lineup one way or the other. But give me Ige to get the win. Like if we're just picking winners, I never saw a betting line or anything. I'm picking Ige to win more often than not. However, I think it plays out closer than Vegas did, so I picked Landwehr as my pick on paper because I think he's the value side on the betting line.
Yeah, I feel that. Monk, Nate, a great volume guy, but can he get it done here?
Yeah, I don't know. That's going to be tough to get it done over Ige. I do like this fight for DraftKings, even though both guys score, on average 96 points per win, which is not ideal. For Landwehr, it is at 7,100. That's a great score. But for Ige, I mean, that's barely 10x. And yeah, like you guys said, Landwehr is tough, has been finished twice before. So that is, an alley that Ige could
one
pursue.
of those, I just want to put, one of those losses was to Herbie Burns.
Yeah.
That is not a
other
finisher.
one too, Julian Erosa, who I'm surprised he was even awake long enough to score a knockout. That dude gets knocked out more than anybody.
On the note of me showing the record here, I think it is noteworthy that it's not, this guy has not really beaten anyone.
Klein is an okay win. But that's about it.
That was about it. And he's kind of losing that fight. I felt like he came back.
Onama's a good win. I like Onama.
Yeah, Aldama's not bad, but again, a decision, so that's fine. But Ige has only lost to top 10 guys. These are elite names on his L column, okay? And he's got pretty good wins. Damon Jackson's good. Edson Barboza, 2020 version, still really good fighter. Mirsad Bektik, I mean, that's a good win.
That was Damon Jackson after coming off a win to Sabatini, whoever. That wrestler that he just murked in the first minute.
Sabatini.
Yeah, Pat Sabatini. Yeah. No, listen, Damon Jackson's good. And I who's not losing to Movsar Ivliev? Everybody's losing to that
undefeated.
Guy. Yeah, Josh Emmett is fighting on the for the championship in 2 weeks from now. And Korean Zombie, these are and Calvin Kattar, these are really, really credible losses to great opponents. Is it almost insulting? I think he's rightfully the favorite. I think Ige is the favorite. He should win this fight, but Nate Landwehr is a live dog. I mean, are we kind of on the same page here?
Yeah, I totally am. I'll be rostering both sides of this fight. I have it written down 50-50 minimum just because of the salary differential here. I mean,
Yeah.
Ige at 9,100 is kind of crazy for the numbers he puts up. I mean, he's very low paced for the most part, not even 3 points a minute. At distance, he's 2.27 points a minute, and he's getting outscored inside the distance. Nate Landwehr does his best scoring inside the distance, 6 points a minute. But the big red flag for Landwehr is he's allowed 121 points per loss so far into the UFC. So that's a gigantic number. He also sports the 86% takedown defense, controls more grappling time, but Ige's tough as hell. But 9,100 is a bit much, man. I'll be 50-50 in this fight, if not like 45-55, something like that. But
and to clarify what you're saying, I don't believe you're saying you're going to have these fight in 100% of your lineup.
Yeah, correct. I should have whatever my ownership is of this fight, which will not be 100%.
Yeah,
probably like 60, 65, something like that. But yeah, 50% of that.
Like, because I just get those questions after the show.
Sure. Yeah.
I thought you were in 100%. No.
Yeah. No.
That's not what. That's
I'll
not
clearly
what.
try to say 100% fight.
That's right. So I'm going to clarify that one. So yeah, I like it too. I think Ige is probably going to win, but you got to have some Landwehr. Landwehr's crazy, man. Like, he is a wild man in the ring. I don't know if the stats or the description we just gave, like, he is in there and he's throwing to kill at all times. I like that. I like that approach. He's kill or be killed. That's why I was a little surprised that I think Ige eventually knocks him out. I really do. I think Ige will win inside the distance.
And I think Landwehr is a very slow starter, though. So I think Ige's going to be winning from the jump. But the longer it goes, I think that Landwehr can pick it up. And the less likely he is to get knocked out, the longer it goes, in my opinion. Like, once he figures out he's in a fight, he's good to go.
I would agree with that. And I don't mind this idea maybe of, like, kind of waiting a little bit and maybe tossing a little something on Landwehr. But Ige doesn't slow down. That's the problem. Landwehr could break you with his volume, but that's not what you ain't doing that to Ige. So that's what I'm worried about here. Ige's he's a real fighter. And again, he's lost his R2 great, not good, great opponents. And he's beaten good opponents. So I think Ige is going to win. But yeah, I understand why Landwehr is an interesting underdog. All right, next up, we've got a fight that I think will end. We talk about kill or be killed. That's what we have going on here. This is almost, for me, a must roster fight. I love the salaries as well. You've got Mike Malott taking on Adam Fugitt. With Malott as a minus 205 favorite, Fugitt as a plus 175 underdog. Let's see what the inside the distance number is. Yeah, minus 325. That's about as good as it gets for non-heavies that you're almost ever going to see. And I don't know how to break this one down. These guys are wild in the ring. So Big Marley, stylistically, how do you see this one playing out?
God, yeah, this is a tough one. I'm not betting this fight because I think it's a hard one to cap, and I just don't have a good vision of how it's going to play out. But it's a great DraftKings fight. I'm going to be all in on this one. I'm all in on the last three fights of this card. So this is where it starts. And Malott, all of his wins are in the first round. So that's great right there for DraftKings. You're looking at 90+ points no matter what if he continues that to get going. But those are the types of fighters that I get worried about in the UFC. If it goes out of the first round on the big show, what happens to you? And that's what puts Fugitt in play in this one. And Fugitt's coming off of a great win where he had like 4 takedowns or something and finished in the first round. Or maybe the second round. I don't remember when he finished it, but he looked awesome in it. And his fight before that, he was going up against a real prospect. And he looked pretty damn good until he got knocked out. So I think Fugitt's very live in this one. And if I'm betting the money line, it would be him. It's just that from what we see on Mike Malott, he just looks like the better fighter. In that first round, he probably does win the first round of this fight. But if he doesn't finish, I don't know what's going to happen. It probably is Fugitt taking over. So I'm all in. Just give me Let the DS decide. Mainly on these last 3 fights. This is a perfect card for the domination station where I freaking hate half the fights on it. And then there's 3 fights. Well, the main event I'm taking a side on, but these next 2 fights, you could just let the DS do whatever it wants, mix in the combos, however, and get the fights that you want to target rather than picking 11 fighters to win and you're only picking those 11 fighters in your lineups. This is a card where you just want the randomness from the DS, in my opinion. But give me Fugitt to get the win. No. Give me Fugitt to get the win because of the unknowns. Let's say this makes it out of the first round. I like Fugitt's chances, so that's what I picked because he has that big plus number next to him.
All right, love a big underdog pick right there from Big Marl. I want to show you something, but you remind me of a couple things. So let me say this first. Number one, if you guys are with us for this long, do us a solid. Smash the like button. I know everybody asked to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Everybody asks. I'm not going to do it. You know what? It's a free podcast, right? You want to catch it next week? Hit the like button. It'll pop up in your feed. Subscribe to the channel. Will pop up in your feed. We just hit 15,000 subs on the DFS Army YouTube channel, by the way. What? So let's keep that going, guys. The other thing I wanted to mention is is it June 10th yet? We have a promotion going at DFS Army. We half off. You can do VIP. It's normally $69. It covers all sports. We're cutting the price in half, $35. Give it a shot. You'll get the MMA. You'll be in the MMA channels. Get the domination station, the famous. You want to go? You can get it on other sites. Cost you $150. Like it costs you literally double what we charge for optimizer projections, all the stuff, the community, all the great stuff, and just hang in with the crew. If you're watching MMA, you want to hang with the crew in the MMA channel. It's fun. You got really sharp people in the Discord whose takes we absolutely listen to and change our approaches based on. I follow bets from there. So we have a really sharp crew in the. You guys know who you are. You're in the comment section right now talking. You guys know who you are. We love you guys. So, and Razzle will give you dating tips. It's mostly grab, swipe left, right. I don't know how dating happens in the modern era. Swiping, bumbles. I don't know what goes on. But yeah, make sure you're check that out, like, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff, and let us know in the comments who your favorite underdogs on this card are. All right. I just want to mention, because we did not finish breaking down this fight. Monk, look at the records here. Neither one of these guys has a legitimate win. And so how do you know? How do you know?
Yeah, you don't. I love how Marley broke this down, and I honestly see it the same way. I think this is close to a must-play fight. 100% ownership. An 80 to 100% ownership is what I will be playing. And I'm going to have a ton of Malott, but I'm also going to play a ton of Fugitt because, again, Malott, if he gets the win, it's going to be probably early, probably by submission. And he scores 107, almost 108 on average per win. The longer the fight goes, the more I favor Fugitt, just like our guy Marley said. And he scores 100. He scored 125.99 points in his last fight. He gave up almost 100 in his loss. So there's triple digits flying around these guys' fights everywhere. Both of them are first round finishers so far in the UFC. Both of them control, on average 90% of the grappling time they are involved in. Both of them have a decent strength of schedule that is around 70. I mean, these guys' stats are so similar. It almost blows my mind. The only big issue is at distance, Fugitt allows almost 5 points a minute, where Malott allowing just less than 1. That said, Malott also has less than 8 minutes in the UFC octagon total. Fugitt, like Marley said, I mean, 1 million takedowns in the first round, and then he gets a finish. He put up 8 points a minute inside the distance. So bottom line is, whoever wins this fight, and I think it's Malott early or Fugitt late, I think they score very well. Fugitt is priced very appropriately to where if he puts up any kind of decent score, he's optimal in a win. And like I said, we think if Malott wins, it's going to be in the first round. Give me all those bonus points, plus a takedown, plus this and this and this. And yeah, I will be rostering the shit out of this fight.
Love the fight. Totally agree. I got to point out the opponents, though. Just to clarify.
Gall is not.
No, it's bad across the board.
Yeah.
Shimon Smith, whatever. This dude was Shimon My brother's in Israel, but I got to tell you something, not a good fighter at all, right? Mickey Gall, are we all not familiar with who Mickey Gall is? That is not a UFC fighter. And then Johan Linnaeus, who also sucks. His wins came against zeros. Trevin Giles is a grappling match. It's not even a fight. It's not a real UFC fight. He beat zeros. Now, he has done what you got to do when he's in there with those zeros, which is take him out in the first round, which is why this is a challenging one. Adam Fugitt, this dude, his grappling in the first round and his amount of energy expended, I am concerned with what happens if it goes long, because he puts out an amount of energy in his fights that I don't think unless your name is Colby or Marty Usman, that you can sustain that level of cardio for 3 rounds. He is a wild man. I love it, but I'm worried about it. So I didn't see him gas out in any of the fights that I watched per se, but it looked like, man, if he doesn't win this, there's no way he's going to be able to hold up. So, that is what it is. Fugitt is the rightful underdog in my opinion, but we don't really actually know what Mike Malott is, which is why this is such a fun fight to play both sides of. I would not even consider betting money line here, but Big Marley, what do you think about the fight ends inside the distance -3? There's no value there.
Yeah, I can't cap that one. I don't know.
There's no value there. There's nothing there. Yeah. There's no value. So there's not much to do there.
Yeah, it looks about right to me.
Yeah.
All you can do is just target heavily on DraftKings. That's what it tells you.
I love this next fight. It's so hard to call it. First of all, we know these guys. Dvorak's taking on Dariush. So good. Both guys, so good. -145. Why is Dariush favorite? I don't really know. What kind of surprise? Should be a pick 'em. This should be -110, -110 in my opinion. Maybe Big Marley thinks Oliveira should be a massive favorite. I don't know. We'll find out in a second. But the this is a 5-rounder, right?
No.
What the hell? This isn't even a 5-rounder?
No, thank God.
Oh, man.
3 rounds. No special treatment here.
They should have given this 5 rounds. This is wrong. But it might not need full 5 rounds here anyway, but this is wrong in my opinion. So the fight ends inside the distance, -260. So we might not need 5 rounds, Big Marley. -260 to end inside the distance. Is somebody getting subbed here? Somebody get knocked out? What's happened?
Yeah. Yeah, someone's going to get something.
Who?
Dariush is going to get finished. That's what's going to happen.
You love knocks, man.
But I'm going to start off by saying Charles Oliveira is one of my favorite all-time fighters. I picked him to be a future champion after his first UFC fight. So it's just somebody I've stuck with. I've bet him probably every single time. So I do have some bias here. But I favor Oliveira in this one. I think we're getting some recency bias with Oliveira coming off a loss to the greatest guy in the division, and Beneil Dariush coming off a win to a good fighter in the division who I picked Beneil to win that fight too. I picked him as an underdog. I want to bet on that one. It was great. But this is a different fight. This is a much different fight. I think that Charles Oliveira, in my opinion, is the better striker of the two. I think he's the more aggressive striker, the guy who's going to set the pace on the feet. I think that Dariush is the better wrestler. And not only is he probably the better wrestler, but Oliveira is fine getting taken down. So he'll accept the takedowns. So that's good on the Beneil side. Beneil's amazing everywhere. He's a great striker. He could knock Oliveira out. He could win a striking match. He could submit Oliveira. He could win by any method here. But I like Oliveira on the feet. And I think he's the most dangerous grappler we've ever seen offensively. He's got the most submissions we've ever seen in the UFC. Beneil's been finished in all of his losses. Charles wins with a finish in most of his wins. I'm just going to be all in on this fight. I'm going to be heavy on the Oliveira side, probably 70-30, something like that. Even though I don't cap him at a 70%, I just want to take a stand on this one. Oliveira's my guy. If I'm going to win $200,000, I want Oliveira to be in that lineup that's up behind me on the wall here, So that's what I'm going with. Oliveira, I'll take a heavy stand, but whatever lineup doesn't have Oliveira, It will have Beneil Dariush. And if you are heavy on Dariush, I wouldn't try and talk you off of that. I would just say I'm biased. Go with your opinion. Maybe you're right. I can't see the future, but in my opinion, I handicap Charles Oliveira as a favorite in this matchup. And anytime I can get a plus 120 or better, and I see them as a favorite, I'm going to go heavy. So give me Dubronx to get a finish in any round, but probably first or second.
Dubronx's run, man, it's so good. Like his opponents over his last 5, it's just the who's who. Gagey, Dustin, he destroyed Dustin, Chandler, Ferguson. I'd say his run is significantly more impressive, Monk, than Dariush's run recently, for whatever that's worth. We're only getting 3 rounds here, Monk. What do you say?
Yeah, I agree. Oliveira has the second best to Dan Ige, second best strength of schedule on the entire card, and it's really not even close. That run that you mentioned is ridiculous. That said, how difficult is it? I don't care who you're fighting to win. What is it at this point? 8 in a row at the lightweight division. So I respect both guys a ton. I think this is less. I don't think this is a must-play fight. Let me preface it by saying I prefer Oliveira for DraftKings. I'm picking Dariush to win the fight. I just think he's too consistent, and I think Charles Oliveira is too inconsistent overall. And I just think Dariush. I think 6 out of 10 times Dariush wins this. Yeah, most of the time I would probably say by decision, but Oliveira he's 9-3 in 3-round lightweight fights. He's been finished twice, not only twice, but in the first round, 2 of those 3 fights. So I don't know if this goes to decision or not. Like I said, I favor Dariush. Their points are ridiculous. Oliveira has the more points, higher DraftKings upside, is what I'm trying to say. Almost 100 points per win over his 9 wins at the weight class, where Dariush is at 91 over 14 wins. I think his last time he scored well was against Hot Sauce, Scott Holtzman. He put up like 117. But other than that, it's like 60, 70, 80 points. So I'm not really big on Dariush this week for DraftKings. He does, outscore his opponents basically everywhere. His, time inside the distance is basically the same as Oliveira, 50%. He controls 20% more, 15% more than Oliveira. 82% of all grappling time Dariush is involved in. He's controlling, where Oliveira is at 65%. I don't know, man. It's the bonus points for me. 79.45 bonus points per win for Charles Oliveira. Like I said, over 9 wins. That is an insane number. An absolutely insane number. So give me Dariush for the win. But as far as DraftKings go, I might have, let's say, 50% of this fight total. And I'll be much heavier on Oliveira than I will be on Dariush.
I almost want to ban Marley from using Oliveira as his kill shot. Like I almost want to.
I wouldn't.
I want to put a stop to that early. That is not a kill shot. I'm on your side here, Marley. I like Oliveira here. I've seen Michael Chiesa rear naked choke Benny Dariush at some point in his career, and if Chiesa can do it, Oliveira can. Oliveira's better than Chiesa. He's a better version of that style of fighter. So I know that outcome exists in the range of stuff that could happen here. And I might think, and I'm not 100% convinced, I might think that Oliveira might be the better striker. Like in striking exchanges, I'm not 100% convinced that Benny
the guy that dropped
better.
Justin Gaethje looked great in a striking match against him. It's just a lot of recency bias, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Oliveira is not demonstratively worse of a striker than Benny. These are both great fighters. I can't wait to watch it. I love both of these guys. I pretty much rooted and bet on Dariush every time he's fought in the UFC. Very much like what you've got. I was not as much of a believer in Oliveira. The loss to Felder messed me up for a while on him. I had like bias in my head over it. He seems to have gotten past that little quitting thing that he was doing back then. And so, more power to him. He seems like the man. I'm going to go on the Oliveira side, but this is a fight to load up on DraftKings. Let's just be clear on that one. And the inside the distance prop is very high. All right. Main event of the evening. Amanda Nunes taking on Irene Aldana with Nunes as a minus 325 favorite. You know, this line moved as well. And you know why it moved? It's minus 600 because it should be minus 600. That's the correct line. Except for the fact that no one really knows how much of a shit Nunes gives at this point in her career. And that's a scary thing. That's a scary thing. How is she training? Does she care? I don't know. But I think it should. I think minus 600 is the correct line, in my opinion. Fight ends inside the distance and acceptable, but less than probably it should be, minus 260. I've got an interesting bet thought. I want to run by you, Big Marley, before you break down the fighters. I want to bet Irene. So I think that, can I bet inside the distance Nunes decision, no contest, no bet? Are you muted? He's muted. So we're missing this great answer that we're getting. Again, Nunes inside the distance. Oh, he hit.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, hit the button.
Oh.
All right. Yeah.
Nunes inside the distance.
So yeah, that's called
decision, no
money
action.
line finish only. But she's probably
Nunes money line finish only. Nunes does not get finished by Irene Aldana unless she's fully in the quit mode.
Right. Well, that's the, if she loses, she's getting finished.
I don't even agree with this.
She's
I
not
think
losing
she loses the
here.
decision. She just
Nah.
gets pieced up, hangs around out there, but isn't quite in the shape that she needed to be in to get the win. That's kind of how I'm seeing it.
No, I
I
think
would
if she loses, it's because it's the same thing that happened in the Pena fight. She gasses out and gets caught on the feet, finds her way out, gets take a choke out at some point. You're not going to get beat up for 3 rounds if you're gassed out. You're just out of there. But if this goes all 15 minutes, I do think Irene Aldana has a better chance than Pena did in all 25 minutes over the course, of a 5-round striking match. But Nunes is by far the best we've ever seen, and I think she's a much better striker with a lot more power. I think she's a much better wrestler with a way better grappling. So if this does go all 25 minutes, I feel really good about Nunes getting the win. So my only worry is her maybe eating a shot at some point and it's just taking the energy away from her, or she's almost going to finish Irene Aldana in the first round and she puts too much effort into it. Irene Aldana hangs around, finishes her after that because she gasses out. That's the only 2 ways I see it going, but that's optimal lineup either way. Nunes coming off like 150 plus points in her last fight. And she has that every single time out because she could go out there and wrestle. If she has the cardio, she could wrestle for 5 rounds and dominate this fight. Hold the Irene Aldana down for 20 minutes if she really wanted to. Or she could knock her out in the first round. So she just has the biggest ceiling on the card. I'm basically all in on Nunes. I'm going to have at least 80%, I'm thinking. But whatever I don't have Nunes will be Aldana lineups because I think she's live. I think she is a good striker. It's just she's going against a better striker. And while that striker is fresh, I don't see Aldana having any success. But we don't know how motivated Nunes is, like you said. So if things aren't going her way, maybe she looks for a way out. Maybe she gasses out because she hasn't been, hitting the road work. I don't know, man. But I'm going to be on Nunes for DraftKings side for sure. She will be in my single entry lineup. She would be in my cash game lineup if I played cash. And I want to be over the field on her in GPPs as well. But if Aldana wins, she's on the optimal lineup.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I think it's just Nunes versus herself here. Monk, I don't see anything that Irene Aldana brings to the table here that would threaten vintage Nunes at all.
And I'm not being facetious here. I want an honest answer. What is going, is she talking about retiring Nunes, or why is the thought process is she going to be there?
Yeah, there have been
the Pena fight. I think it's all from that Pena fight. Okay. Because in my opinion, it wasn't that she got outstruck and she was getting beat up throughout that fight. It was strictly one punch after she damn near finished her in the first round that you could just tell it took it all out of her. And when you see that, it's just you kind of
you're
got to
right.
wonder. And it's more just like when you beat everybody, what motivates you?
Well, no, there was some discussion afterwards, and including from her about maybe not preparing as much or as hard. There was a little bit of that talk, like, well, she's married now, she's got a baby, she's beaten everybody. They're giving her effectively. I mean, look who she's getting, Irene Aldana, who is not somebody who you ever looked at and was like, oh, champion. You were kind of like, she could win as an underdog, as if she could stop a takedown. That's who she is. She's Marina Rodriguez of this weight class, right? Like, she is not somebody that anybody ever looked at and went, oh, that's the future champ.
Right.
No, she's a nice fighter and she's good striking, but she has no grappling. To me,
none.
You should be able to take her down and submit her and finish her with strikes in the first round. Like that, you give me the beast version of Nunes that was knocking out Cyborg. That woman takes down Aldana and finishes her with strikes in round 1. But I don't know. This isn't the beast. She didn't come out, and then she came out as the beast against Pena.
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing. She is that, she is that beast at this weight class. I mean, for the most part, like, she's one of the best DraftKings scores that we have overall. Man, woman, doesn't matter the weight class. Amanda Nunes, I mean, rules all of it and doesn't allow any points really at all. I mean, she's 7-1 in 5-round women's bantamweight fights. 6 of those wins are over 100 points. Her ceiling's the highest on the card at 146. She controls 91% of the grappling time that she's involved in. 9,500, a fantastic salary. This is if you're not going 100% on any other fight, this is the one to go 100% on.
Is 9,500 a little too expensive? Like, is that like the danger zone of salary, or that's still okay?
It is, but it's the best one. It makes the optimal lineup 47.5% of the time. Like, straight, it's fantastic. It's the best high-end salary that we have by far. Not even close. 6,700 is the worst salary we have. Only 2 wins out of like 43 or something attempts or whatever.
When it does happen,
in those 2 wins, it's 100% optimal. So.
My boy JBC Statsational played. He won everything last week. All I see, first I checked the armbar 10K win. I'm like, oh no. let me check the $18.
You had Damone Blackshear, you probably won.
It wasn't just Blackshear. He played a little bit of Malarkey's opponent as well. And he told me, he's like, he played like 9 lineups without that fully faded the main event, or 12. Like, it was a small number that fully faded the main event, which you needed to do. And he's like, and it was just one of them that caught that right mix. So he did. Yeah. I don't know if was Malarkey's opponent. He was in the nuts, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's what did it. It was having that guy in there.
Won and been in the optimal lineup.
Yeah. That's what did it. That's what did it. Anyway,
he probably could have lost a decision and been in the optimal lineup, to be honest.
In the end, it did work out nicely. And again, just fading that main event last week. This is not the main event to fade. No. Do we need to have exposure to Irene Aldana?
Yes.
For this, do we need it for this scenario?
Yes, because if what your guys are saying is true and Amanda's not there, well, you're not making the nuts if you don't have Aldana. If she wins, she's optimal.
Again, let me clarify this. We're saying if she pulls another scenario like the first fight where she really probably wasn't as prepared as she needed to be, distracted, not training as hard, then she could have problems. I don't have any information that is going on. Mm-hmm. All we're saying is, hey, we saw it 2 fights ago, and like, what if she does that again? And what if she's having a hard time finding motivation? But beyond that, like, we don't have any information that says, the information to me that's telling me that that's a possibility is the line movement chart is much more the warning. Like, do you not agree that vintage Nunes should be minus 600 in this fight?
Yeah, 325 seems ridiculous.
That number is reflective of something, of that concern. So
yeah,
I think we all agree, though, Nunes very the best pure play on this card, and get her in as many lineups as you can.
Yeah.
All right, boys.
Like Marley said, 80 to 90%.
Yeah. Now,
Yep.
for those of you who made it with us to this point, we are going to give our kill shots now. That our kill shots, these are the under. We have a kill shot contest going on. I only mention it because I'm in first. If I wasn't in first, I would never mention it. But since I am, we have a kill shot contest where Marley gets so pissed. It's like, fucking kill shots. I'm in first.
It was rough.
Picking an underdog. We're picking, and not the main event. We're picking generally an underdog that will help you win the tournament. A couple weeks ago, I had Hooper. That helped me win a tournament. Last week, I think I took an L on my kill shot. I cannot remember who it was. It was a disaster, though. I bet on her. Whoever, it was a female.
You had Gaffarov.
Oh, is that? Oh, Gaffarov. Yeah. Oh, man, what a disappointment.
Oh man, I was just building a lineup, and I almost put Maria Oliveira in my lineup instead of Charles. So be careful when you're building by hand this week, guys.
Don't put him
Oliveira.
Put yeah. Here we go. Joe's on board. So let's talk kill shots, guys. Underdog gonna come through for us and help us win the tournament. And Big Marley, I'll go to you first. Don't take my girl though.
I'm gonna. Forget about it. I'll take Adam. Fugitt.
Fugitt is a legit kill shot. If that guy wins, he will absolutely be in the nuts lineup. I like it. Monk, where are you at? And we said no, Charles Oliveira. By the way, Oliveira would absolutely be. Maybe for the contest, you want to choose Oliveira. In fairness,
yeah. If you want to throw me down for the real contest, I'll take
in the contest, we're gonna put.
Vince probably already has that written down, I'm sure.
We wanted to take a little bit of a longer shot than that, although Oliveira is fair game on this slate, so he is absolutely fair game for a kill shot.
Well, I already heard you mention that you were going to take a female, so no worries here. I won't infringe on that pick. If I was going long shot, I'd consider Steve Ursig, but I'm going to play a little bit safer here, and I think I'm going to choose Eric Anders as my kill shot here. I think he's a solid dog with a high floor, and that's just what we're looking for here.
So I'm going to also then qualify this one. I'm picking Jasmine because I do fully believe that if she wins this fight and she's got closer to 50-50 shot, that she will be in the nuts. She will help you win the tournament this week if she wins. But if I just needed an underdog that I think is going to win, I think I would actually go Chris Curtis. But I like Eric Anders as well. Like, I think both of those guys certainly could win their fight. I don't see part of the reason why I didn't go Chris Curtis with my kill shot is because Chris Curtis just doesn't score. It's kind of boring. And I don't think he helps me win the tournament. So while I do think he will win the fight or he has great potential to win the fight as an underdog, I just don't know that that means anything in the scheme of this slate. Whereas if you get a Jasmine or a Steve Ursig right, or a Fugitt right, that person is absolutely in the winning lineup or likely to be. So I like that better. All right. That's awesome. Good stuff, guys. This went a little longer than I thought it would for an 11, but I think we gave out a lot of great info here. If you like Prize Picks, stick around on this channel. Later today, I will be dropping a Prize Picks plays video for UFC. So I have 4 picks already picked out. You see it up here. I got the tab, but I don't want to spoiler it because I'm gonna make a standalone video for that. So make sure you're subscribe to the channel. You want to see that stuff. Again, last week was a nightmare, but other than that, it's been pretty good on Prize Picks for me. Marley, you can't even play on Prize Picks, but you know what, Monk? You can.
I sure can. And you're right. If I would have been tailing you this past month, I would have been making a killing.
For the most, not last week though.
We're not counting last week. No,
1 week. Let's just forget it. What happened?
You get one mulligan, right?
Seriously, yeah. Before that, it was
weird shit happened last week.
I've seen your record. It's pretty damn good. For sure.
It's been good, but when we lose, I allow the sportsbook odds to drive those decisions much more than I try to use my opinions. And listen, like I said, when somebody's plus 300 to finish inside the distance, and then they finish inside the distance, I'm going to lose that play because I'm allowing the odds to dictate some of what I'm trying to do. And so when they are really different from what the sportsbooks say, that doesn't work well for me on Prize Pick. I could bet those, but I don't treat Prize Picks like a sportsbook. I treat it like, hey, I understand these are minus 140 plays, so I need skewed in my favor heavily.
Yeah, in fact, I've heard you say that if you could bet inside the distance, you wouldn't even play that on Price Picks. You'd rather just bet it and then look.
You
for something
don't,
else
yeah,
on Price Picks.
because you can bet it at -110. Price Picks is -140. You should not. You got to play the best spots, and you just have to know that. Not everybody understands the math, but we'll break that stuff down later. Like and subscribe to the channel. Big thanks to Big Marley and MonkMMAtics for breaking this down for us. We will be in the DFS Army Discord as always, talking about the fights, live watching the fights together on Saturdays like we always do, talking bets, all that stuff. If you're not in DFS Army, Summer 50 is the promo code. Let me put the banner back on. Summer 50, not just for the props sub. That's VIP. We didn't set it up for MMA only, guys. But you don't want MMA only. You want all sports. We got NASCAR going all summer long. People are like, it's baseball season. Is it? Isn't it NASCAR season? Isn't it MMA season? Isn't
the finals are still going on.
There's some NBA finals happening and some showdowns happening. But like there is DFS to be played.
Yep.
We got tennis. We got tennis breakdowns.
Call of Duty. You guys like esports? We even got that.
We got some League of Legends action. A little bit of CSGO, whatever the hell that is.
I don't know what it is, but we have it.
CSGO. I don't know. What is that? A game? I don't know. I never saw it, but I do play some League. You might see me competing in the senior circuit League of Legends at some point. You know, the over 45 crowd, we only have so much dexterity, so like it's leveled out. The only problem is if some like 18-year-old identifies as a 45
fake
plus
birth certificate. Oh,
just know, hey, listen, that's my identity. I'm in, and then wins all the fucking now the senior circuit can't win anything. I hope that doesn't happen.
Gotta make rules.
You gotta have those rules. You have to go by your biological age.
Yep.
You can't fake it. All right. Sorry, guys. I'll let it go. It's been an hour and a half. I'm starting
50%
to get delirious.
off.
I have not eaten. 50% off with code SUMMER50. Get into DFS Army, sign up as VIP. We are about to start the back test project, and you don't want to miss the back test project. We're going to redo the entirety of the 2022 NFL season in back test mode and just rerun all those slates. We're going to play them again. We're going to mess with the settings. We're going to figure out what would have won, what didn't win, all of those things. So we're going to get super prepped for this coming NFL season. That'll probably happen, in fairness, when I say about to, in like July. So it's not now, but we're about a month out, maybe a month and a half from starting that. We'll do a couple of streams every week. So we've got you covered. Get in there. We'll see you guys next time. Good luck on this card, everybody. Wait, I have to say one more thing. Of course, MLB too. Razzle's like, hey, what about us? If you're into MLB, you're already in there, right? It's like we're not convincing new people. But yes, MLB's going in. Razzle
50K win.
50K winner. Yeah, that's right. 50K. That's why he's hanging out. He told us, he's like, take this job and shove it, bitch. 150K going full time. Love it. Congrats on the big win, Raz. Forgot to mention that earlier. All right. Well, we will see you guys next time. Take care, everybody. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.